My name is Tokoni, and I'm 24 years old. Today was supposed to be one of the happiest days of my life, the day before my wedding. I should have been with my family, preparing for a celebration of love, surrounded by laughter and joy. But instead, here I am, broken on my knees, staring into the furious, heartbroken eyes of the man I thought I would be spending my life with. "I want you gone, Tokoni." Umukoro's voice was a low, furious hiss, echoing through the silence of the room, each word heavy with rage and disbelief. "The wedding is off. You're nothing but a lying, two-faced whore." The words felt like knives slicing through me, sharp and merciless. I couldn't stop the tears pouring down my face as I choked out words, begging him, reaching for his hand, desperate to make him see that I loved him, that I was so much more than my past mistakes. But he yanked his hand away, looking at me like I was a stranger. Yesterday, I'd been filled with dreams of our future, planning the details of our lives together, picturing a life I thought I'd earned with careful choices, devotion, and love. But in a single, devastating instant, it was gone. The past I had so carefully hidden, a life I had buried deep and hoped never to revisit, had risen to swallow everything I had worked for, everything I had loved. I never expected my past would come back to haunt me like this, or that it would come in the form of the one person I thought I would never see again. I met Umukoro almost 2 years ago, on a night out with my friends. It had been a whirlwind week, my first few days as a new sales manager at a rising company. My friends, eager to celebrate, had convinced me to join them at a local club. It was a lively place, filled with loud music, laughter, and the heady buzz of city nightlife. I remember the colored lights flashing across the room, casting shades of red and blue on everyone's faces, giving the night an otherworldly glow. We were dancing and laughing, the stress of the week melting away, when I noticed the other women in the club glancing toward the bar, giggling and whispering. Curious, I turned and saw him, tall, handsome, and radiating confidence, standing with a small group of friends. His smile was easy, his movements smooth, and there was something magnetic about him that made everyone around him seem insignificant. He had an aura that commanded attention, an unspoken charisma that left people watching in awe. I recognized him instantly. Umukoro, my company's CEO. I had heard so much about him from the women at work. He was the subject of endless gossip, admiration, and fantasies. His presence had an impact on me I hadn't anticipated. And as if by fate, our eyes met across the crowded room. He held my gaze, his smile lingering, and I felt a strange thrill course through me. I smiled back, trying to appear calm, but inside I felt something wild and electric, like nothing I'd ever felt before. As the night wore on, we found ourselves drawn together. We talked, the conversation flowing naturally, a shared chemistry simmering beneath each word. He had a girlfriend at the time, but I couldn't shake the sense that he was interested, that there was something between us that he couldn't ignore either. It felt forbidden and thrilling, like stepping onto the edge of a cliff, knowing you could fall, but drawn to it all the same. By the end of that night, he had invited me to meet him privately, away from the crowd, and from that point on, we were inseparable. His previous relationship faded into the background, and soon he and I became the couple everyone envied. With him, I felt unstoppable. His attention, his love, they filled a void I hadn't realized was there. I became the perfect girlfriend, molding myself into the woman he wanted. And when he proposed, sweeping me into his arms and promising me a future together, I felt as if every dream I'd ever dared to have was coming true. But as our wedding plans grew, there was a delay. Umukoro's older brother, Tosan, was living in the United States, and he wanted to be present for the ceremony. Tosan ran a successful tech company in San Francisco, and his family had a deep admiration for him, always talking about how he had paved the way for the family's success. I hadn't met him, only spoken with him on the phone a few times. He seemed friendly and welcoming, and I was genuinely looking forward to meeting him, seeing the final piece of the family that would soon be my own. Little did I know, meeting Tosan would unravel everything I had fought so hard to create. The day Tosan was set to arrive, Umukoro's family was bustling with excitement, and I wanted everything to be perfect. I spent most of the morning helping Umukoro's mother in the kitchen, preparing a feast fit for a family reunion. I hadn't met all of Umukoro's family yet, and I was nervous, hoping to make a good impression on the brother who had been so important to him. Finally, we heard a car pulling up. Laughter and happy voices echoed through the house as Tosan and Umukoro greeted each other, but I hesitated in the kitchen, my nerves rising. When I heard the family calling for the bride-to-be, I took a deep breath, straightened my dress, and walked out, prepared to meet Tosan with the best version of myself on display. But the moment I stepped into the living room, my world shattered. Standing there in the midst of laughter and warm greetings was a face I recognized instantly, a face I thought I'd left behind in my past, a face I had worked so hard to forget. Tosan. The memories came flooding back, hitting me like a tidal wave. Back in university, I had led a different life. I had been desperate to escape the poverty I grew up in, hungry for the thrill of money and the allure of a glamorous lifestyle. My friend Masong had introduced me to men who could offer that kind of life, and Tosan had been one of them. He was wealthy, powerful, and as reckless as I was. I had been just another face in his circle back then, a young girl willing to do whatever it took to enjoy the lifestyle she had always envied. And Tosan, he had been one of the men I entertained. I couldn't believe it was him. I couldn't breathe as I looked at him, seeing the same recognition dawning in his eyes. His lips curled into a sneer, a mocking grin that made my stomach twist in terror. "Is this some kind of joke?" he said, his voice laced with contempt. He looked me up and down, his eyes brimming with disgust. "What are you talking about?" Umukoro asked, looking between us in confusion. He reached for me, but I stepped back, my face drained of color, my heart pounding so loud I thought everyone could hear it. Tosan chuckled darkly. "Do you even know who she is, little brother? Do you know the kind of woman you're marrying?" Umukoro's face hardened, and he looked at me with questioning, fearful eyes. "Tokoni, what's he talking about?" Tosan shook his head, his laughter echoing through the room. "She's not who you think she is, Umukoro. This woman belongs to the streets. She's a liar, a two-faced, calculating liar." He turned to me, his gaze full of disdain. "Or have you conveniently forgotten all the men you used to entertain?" Every word was like a blow, stripping away the life I had so carefully built. The family's faces turned from confusion to shock, eyes on me, full of judgment and horror. I couldn't bear it. I turned and fled from the room, my vision blurred with tears. I ran out of the house, into my car, barely able to see the road as I drove, the past I had tried so hard to bury clawing its way back to the surface. I drove aimlessly, replaying those reckless years over and over in my mind. Back then, I had felt trapped by my family's poverty, desperate to escape, desperate to be someone else. University had been my first taste of freedom, a place where I realized how far beauty and confidence could take me. Masong had shown me how to use my looks to get what I wanted, and I had thrown myself into that life, thinking only of the money, the gifts, the parties, the thrill of getting what I wanted, even if it meant giving pieces of myself away. And then there had been Tosan. He had been one of the wealthiest men I'd known, and his lifestyle had been unlike anything I'd ever seen. When he and his friends hosted parties, I was eager to be there, to be a part of the thrill. My innocence vanished under the neon lights of clubs, with the sound of laughter and music drowning out my conscience. I had never thought those nights would matter, that I would ever have to face someone from that life again. I found myself at the house Umukoro had bought for us. It was supposed to be our future, the home where we would start our lives together after the wedding. Sitting in the driveway, I felt the weight of what I had lost settle over me, cold and unrelenting. Every dream, every hope, it was all gone. Then I heard the roar of tires. Umukoro's car pulled up beside mine and he stepped out, fury radiating from him. He marched over to me, his face twisted with betrayal and heartbreak. "What are you doing here, Tokoni?" His voice was hard, barely controlled. "Get out! I don't want to see you again. Ever!" I fell to my knees, my heart shattered, my hands trembling. "Please, Umukoro, listen to me. I love you. I was young, I made mistakes, but I never meant for any of this to happen. I didn't know he was your brother. Please, please forgive me." But he looked down at me, his face a mixture of anger and sorrow. "How could you? How could you keep something like this from me? I thought I knew you. I thought you were different." His words broke me and he turned and walked away, leaving me kneeling there alone. In the days that followed, I drifted like a ghost. My family was humiliated, shamed by the scandal I had brought upon them. My sisters, who had once envied me, now looked at me with disdain, while my parents couldn't even bear to speak to me. Every time I left the house, I saw the whispers, the judgment in people's eyes. I had lost everything. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe for more content, and ring the bell so you never miss an update. Drop a comment below with your thoughts or any questions, and I'll catch you in the next one. Stay awesome.